Okay, we are recording for our YouTube page. Welcome. Coach Zsofia is going to be presenting on the 3 phases of strength today. Just take another minute to let everyone in.
Yeah, guys, happy Friday. And then I will dive in because I've got quite a bit to cover. All right, guys, let's get us going so I can make sure that I'm going through the whole thing. So happy Friday. My name is Coach Z, and we're covering today the 3 phases of strength training. First, I'm going to cover what they are. So this diagram right here, it's from the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and it is the optimum performance training model. This is something that I had to study in school, and then making sure that all personal trainers understand how this model works. And so I want to educate you guys on it so you can better understand what is it that you might need to change a little bit or add on to, or just kind of cycle through, so you're getting better results out of your strength training if that is something you're interested in. So as you guys see, the very base, and it's kind of like a pyramid system, right? Like a foundation of a house, we build on top of one another. So the first one that I'm not covering today is phase 1. It's stabilization endurance. It is not in the strength system, but that's basically just you making sure that your body is stable, you're moving really well, everything is aligned. That is something that you want to make sure you do before you even start hitting weights. Okay, so today is about weights. So the middle 3, phase 2 is strength endurance. Phase 3 is hypertrophy, and I'm going to explain every single one. And then phase 4 is maximal strength. And these are the 3 phases of strength training. So strength endurance would be the first phase when you're starting to work with weight. It's training resilience with loads of more than 30% of your 1 rep max. And we'll also talk about this. And then performing in high repetition, so 10 and plus. What this helps you with is the muscles become more resistant to fatigue, right? So better energy. It helps to move a whole lot more oxygen to your tissues by increasing your blood flow. Again, better energy, producing more ATP, which is your energy currency. And then it helps with improving your performance in if you're playing a sport or any kind of like an athletic thing that you're working towards. And then the results of this type of training is to get really lean and strong muscle tissue. It also helps you with better cardiorespiratory endurance. So increased ability to perform daily activities without getting tired. And this is why you would train in that, right? Even if like a physique isn't necessarily your goal. It's reduced risk of injury or falling because your muscles are a little bit stronger to hold onto your bones and joints. It is really helpful with maintaining healthy body weight. And we'll talk about this in the coming chapters, but essentially when you're strength training, when you're working with weight, whenever you're increasing your muscle mass, and it doesn't necessarily mean in this phase specifically, you're not growing muscle, you're strengthening the muscles that you already have. Does that make sense? And so when your muscle mass is stronger, your density of the muscle that you already have is stronger, your metabolic rate goes up. Ryan, is there a chance, actually, I lied, it is kind of distracting with the ding, the ding, the ding. Any chance that you can mute that?
Just found it. Yep, just shut it off. Thanks, Z.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it was a lot of dings. When your muscle mass is higher, also your body fat goes a little bit lower. So it's a really, really good way to maintain your weight. If weight loss is your goal, this phase of strength training is awesome. It is healthier and stronger muscles because, or rather bones, because your muscles surround your bones. And so it's kind of like a diamond under pressure. The stronger my muscle tone, the stronger my bone density also gets. And the reason why that's important is because inside your bones is where you make blood, which then correlates to your immune system. And so the stronger my muscles, the stronger my bones, the better my immune system whenever I get sick, right? And we will. I fight off sickness in 2 days versus fighting it off in 2 weeks. So really important. And then when you're strong and you feel good, it definitely boosts your confidence. So how would one train in strength endurance phase? Again, it's strengthening the muscles you already have, not building a ton more muscle, is like this. I put pictures of everyone just so you guys kind of get an idea of the physique that this type of training will provide. This is obviously being recorded, but I highly recommend you guys write this down too, or take a snapshot of it. So when you're going to the gym, you can actually design your workouts like this. So the repetitions will be anywhere from 8 to 12 reps. The set of how many, and let's give it a really simple example. Bicep curls is what you're working on, you're having an upper body day. Then I would do 8 to 12 repetitions of bicep curls, right? So then 10, let's pick that so that will make sense for later. 10 reps of bicep curls, and then 2 to 4 sets. So I'll pick 3 sets because that also falls within my range. 3 sets of that. And then the intensity is where it starts to become really tricky of how heavy should that weight be for you to actually get the results you want. You're working in about 70 to 80% of your 1 rep max. How do you find that? If you are doing 10 reps of a bicep curl, by the time 70 to 80, by the time I get to my 7th or 8th repetition of a bicep curl, it should feel like I don't want to do another one. But I still can. I still can finish to my 8, 9, 10, but it felt really difficult for me to do so. That means that you're training in your 7 to 80 or 70 to 80%. If you get to your 7th or 8th, and you can easily finish, you can easily go to 12 or 15, you need a heavier weight. If you get to 7 or 8, and there's no way that you can finish your reps, if the set limit for you is 10, then you need a lighter weight. And that's how you find it. Does that make sense? Judging by your silence, I say yes. Rest period so let's say I did my 10 reps, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. How long should I wait before I do my next set of 10? Is 0 to 60 seconds, about a minute of wait. Usually in classes, I'll give you guys about like 30 seconds. Yeah. Whenever you're hearing me like, okay, guys, to the next circuit, in 30 seconds, we're back to standing. That's why we give that rest period so your muscles have time to recover, to make more energy, so then we can spend more. And then this is a really important one, the tempo that a lot of times we miss. This is what it means. The 2 means that I'm not just moving super fast. So for example, if I'm doing a bicep curl, instead of up, down, up, down, up, down, I go up, up. 0 means there's no holding, and then down, down. I'm moving the weight a little bit slower. Why? Because the phase we're training in is strength endurance. The longer time I have with that weight, with my muscles under tension, the better strength I built in my muscle fibers. So again, instead of up, down, it's up, up, down, down, up, down, down, like a 2 count. Time under tension, strength, endurance, so I last longer. And then this is the only phase that a superset is really, really important. This is what a superset is. Let's say that, and there's a lot of confusion around this, it's the same muscle group that you have already worked. So let's say that we're working a bench press, right? The muscles I'm working is my pecs, my shoulders, my biceps, supporting my triceps and my back, right? So it's a group of muscles. It's the same group of muscles then that I want to work in my superset. So let's say that I did 10 repetitions of a bench press. And then once I'm done with that, I go into my superset, and a superset of that could be wide arm push-ups, right? Because it's the same muscle group that I'm working, different exercise, but the same muscle group. It would be, the intensity of that is about 50%. So it's very light, much lighter than the one you actually worked in your first set, or body weight would be fantastic. So I would do then 12 push-ups right away, and that really sucks. And what that does is that it tears your muscle fiber. And then in your rest days is when these muscles actually go recover and grow back stronger. They're not increasing muscle size, they're getting stronger. Does that make sense? So the way I would structure this is 10 bench presses to then I put that weight down to just body weight, and it could be even elevated. Maybe it's on your knees if they're fatigued, then we're looking for that fatigue, is then I would go do 12 push-ups and then repeat, repeat, repeat. If I did that 3 times, that would be the full of the set. Questions about this?
Hi, Zee.
Hi.
Hey, so I wanted to understand. So it's like you do the bench press set and then the superset and then the bench press and the superset. So like total 6 of like
Correct.
3 of each. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And so that will start to get you the results. And this is why and we'll talk about how to structure then your weeks. For right now, it's just like understanding what the workout part is to get you the results that you want. This is lean physique that you're working towards. So you're doing a lot of repetitions, because repetition, 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 it helps me lean and tone. It doesn't bulk me. And this is why, for example, in a sculpt class, guys, when I ask you to go, are you guys burning yet? We're looking for that fatigue. And then you say, yes, then we do 10 more because we're looking for that high rep, because it's really low body. It's either body weight or low weights, like 8s or 10s that we're working with. So it's high reps, sculpt you, lean and toned. And this might mean that if you're going to the gym twice a week, then you do a full upper body day, right? And you want to look for like complexity. So I want to work a lot of muscles at the same time because I don't want to do a lot of this, right? It's really difficult. And so I'm looking for movements that recruit a lot of different muscles versus just the bicep curl, right? That isolates that one. So it's more like a full body movement. And then I could do a whole upper body day and then a whole lower body day.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Helpful?
Yes. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Good question. You're welcome.
One
All right, guys.
question.
Yes.
Can you explain again what superset is again? So how is this different from the normal set? Just one more time.
So yes. So the superset is working the same group of muscles, but with a much lighter weight or just body weight, where it's no extra weight, where I just want to burn that out. So if I went from a bench press, which is working all the muscles at the top, then I would flip it to my superset would be just body weight, push-ups, quick. That what it does is that it depletes the glycogen in your muscles to where you feel absolutely spent. And then you want to take that about 90 seconds for that glycogen to produce again. And what that helps with is tearing that muscle fiber. When you look at someone and you're like, oh my God, they're ripped, like these guys right here, Mr. Ryan Gosling, that term really comes from, you're literally tearing muscle fiber in a type of workout like this. And so they grow back stronger. You want to break it down, let it repair, break it down, let it repair. And so I wouldn't ask you to do a type of workout like this any more than 3 times a week, because I want to give my body those extra days in between, those 4 extra days that I'm doing something else, maybe like a yoga or some kind of cardio session, for those muscles to recover. Because if all I do is breaking it down, if I did this 7 days a week, I would get fatigue, plateau, I wouldn't see any more results, and then I'd get an injury. Yeah. So you want to be mindful of how you structure this type of a workout in your week too, and we'll get there. Helpful?
Thanks.
Hey, I've got a question here. Just one small. So after every 70% intensity set, we should be doing 1 superset?
That would get you results really well. Yes.
Okay, so 3 sets, 3 supersets.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if you look at this, do you see how in the sets also it says 2 to 4? So maybe you start it in a way where you are structuring it where it's 2 sets, where it's only 2 sets, right, to start at least. So you're really feeling like if you're just beginning this, then I would do 2 sets of the regular and then maybe 1 extra set of that superset.
Okay, yeah, got it. Thanks.
So play with the numbers with this, you guys, to make sure that you're in the range so it works for you. And then you can work your way up with this. Okay, I got to keep going to make sure we have time for this. The next phase in strength training, but real quick.
Why was the tempo for the superset different?
So because you want to go fast for this one.
Okay. Okay. I see. Sure.
Yeah. So with this guy, you want to slow it down. With the tempo and the superset, you guys, You could make it so you're slowing it down a lot, which will burn a whole lot more, or you can speed it up. And don't get like too picky about that. As long as you're doing that extra superset, you'll get your results.
Got it. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Hypertrophy is your second phase after you have done after you have worked in the first one. And if you have never strength trained before, you want to start with stabilization to strength endurance, and then hypertrophy builds on top of that, because strength endurance is like a primer for your muscles to then be able to grow. And in hypertrophy, we are looking for growth. Yeah. So it's increasing in muscle cells and in muscle size. I'm putting on extra muscles. The load that you want to work in is 40 to 60% of your 1 rep max. So it's heavier. It's performing moderate repetitions. So repetitions will be lighter because your load will be heavier. The focus is to increase muscle size. It is in proportion of your lean body mass, you're growing. This is the phase that will really help you boost your metabolism, because more muscle size will also increase your how many calories you burn throughout the day. Strength training, again, is honestly the most efficient way to lose fat, because if you get on the treadmill and you're running, you're burning calories while you're doing the workout. If you put on extra muscle, and it doesn't have to be a ton, but extra on top of what you already have, what it does is, even when you're sitting down at your desk, your caloric output of how many calories you burn throughout the day will increase. So let's say that you burn at rest, you haven't done anything, but you're laying in bed playing on your computer. Let's say you burn about 1,500 calories. Everybody is different, but on average, if you put on more muscle, then if you spend all Sunday in bed, you will burn more calories because you have more muscles. And so it takes more energy for you to maintain that muscle. So from 15, you could bump up to 16, 17, 18, depending on how much more muscle you put on. And for this, it's really, really helpful for fat loss. The stronger your muscles, again, improves your joint function. It definitely improves the quality of your life, especially so like long-term planning when you're older. You know how older people, a lot of them, because it wasn't necessarily something that they have done like strength train in their day and age, it wasn't so well understood of why that's so beneficial. A lot of elderly right now in our generation, they're dealing with really hollow bones and arthritis, right? Osteoporosis, some of the things that we can 100% avoid if we strength train now. Because as we said in the first chapter, it helps with bone density. The stronger my muscles, the more my bones go strong and dense. If they fall, it's a huge risk of breaking because their bones are hollow. There's not much of a mass to it. And if you and I are training now and we keep this up, by the time we get to 80, 90, 98, however long you want to live, if you fall, which is less likely that you actually will fall because you have stronger joints and muscles to support your movement, but even if you do, it's a bruise, not a break. And so for that, awesome. Prevents muscle loss, reduce the risk of osteoporosis, definitely helps your immune system, stronger bones, better immune system, and yet again, your confidence of feeling strong, trusting the body that it can do what you want it to. This is how you train for this. And I want you guys to see kind of the pictures between, like, this is pretty lean physique, yes? And then this is where I'm starting to see more of that muscle definition come out. I found that this gentleman's picture was really helpful. So like on the, what side is this? On the right, that would be strength endurance training. On the left is where you're seeing like his muscles are starting to grow, hypertrophy training. So repetitions are lower, it's 6 to 8 reps. The sets are becoming a little bit higher, so it's 3 to 5. If you're doing 4, 5, awesome. The intensity is 75 to 85%, so heavier weights. Rest period is about a minute, and the tempo is the same. Up, up, no rest, down, down. So again, let's say that you are doing 8 reps. Let's say you're doing 6 reps. By the time you get to number 4, that weight should feel pretty damn heavy. Do you see the difference in that? It's like strength endurance. If I'm doing 10, by the time I get to 8, pretty heavy. 4 should feel like, damn, that's pretty heavy. I've increased my weight. And everybody's is different. So whatever it is for you, that's the zone you want to work in. And that will help you with tearing more muscle fiber and building more muscle. Yes. Okay. Next and last is maximal strength. This is working 80 to 100% of the load. It is about your 1 rep max. How heavy can you lift? Just 1, the heaviest. Yeah. What this helps with is the highest level of muscle force. I'm trying to move this quickly. Essentially, I'm trying to recruit the most amount of muscle fibers for me to be able to lift that load at least 1 time. What it helps with is increases force production. And so that helps with athletic performance. How quickly can I get out of that start if I'm running? Or football players, right? Or how hard can I hit that ball if I'm playing baseball? Improve jumping, sprinting, or change of direction, right? My ankles, my joints, my knees, my hips to be really supported. It does help a lot with reducing injuries or fractures. It also prevents muscle loss, reduces the risk of arthritis, improve the immune system, and confidence. So this is what I want to talk about. Is it clear the difference between the 3 phases? So maximal strength would get you a larger, more defined 1 to 5 reps, 4 to 6 sets, 85 to 100 of how heavy. The rest, because if it was really heavy, your heart rate went up, you're going to get really, really sore. 3 to 5 minutes is your rest. Yeah, this is like the bodybuilder status. If you're seeing those guys like taking a long rest at the gym, it's because they have lifted so heavy, their muscle needs that time to recover, and the tempo is fast. Now, even if you don't plan on being if your goal isn't to get really large in size, it would be awesome for you to do a maximal strength test for yourself 1 to 2 a year, because it gives you a really good progress report on where you're at. Yeah. So I wrote this somewhere, very bottom, could use a progress check-in 2 a year. After now that
Zsofia, I have
go
a
ahead.
question. So, where can we get this maximal strength test?
Where?
Yeah, like how do I get a maximal strength test?
So I would, if I were you, I would go to the gym and then go, I want to test my upper body, I want to test my lower body, I want to test my core. Maybe you do to keep it safe, yeah, if this is your first time trying it, is play with on a leg press, what's the heaviest that I can push into? And guys, without having to say it, you want to be really, really, really warm for this. You don't just want to go, all right, here I go in my jeans and button up. Let me see how heavy I can go, because you will definitely get injured. You want to warm up, have everything really fluid, yes? So a few body weight exercises, circles in your hips and your joints, really, really essential. Maybe getting on the elliptical machine for like 5-10 minutes. You want to be warm for this. And then you want to get onto a machine to see how heavy can I absolutely get it to go. And then I would keep track of that. Yeah, so you want to like design a test for yourself. It could go, all right, I'm going to do a chest press. What's the heaviest I can go? Or maybe a chest press up, or I would do it on a machine so you're safer than free weights, because that'll protect your joints a little better. So you could pick a few different things for upper body, lower body, and then write it down.
Okay.
And then maybe 6 months later, you go back and check after you have done like a periodization that we'll talk about right now for whatever your workout routine will be. And then you can go back to those same exact exercises to then do a check. How heavy can I do it now? And you'll be surprised by your improvement.
And if you need more guidance, we'd be happy to coach you as a team. You can message fitness.center@qualcomm.com.
For sure.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Cool. You're welcome. So periodization.
There was a term tempo in the previous slides. Could you please elaborate or explain what's tempo?
Tempo is how fast you're performing a exercise. So depending on, and you guys can look back on the slides, depending on the phase you're training, you don't want to necessarily move the weight quickly. You want to move the weight just a little slower.
I see.
Cool. So periodization, guys, is what phase you're training in depending on your goals. And there's 3 ways to look at this. It's a macro cycle, long-term for the year, a mesocycle, medium-term for 3 to 6 months, and then a microcycle of short-term in my 1 to 6 week period. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks of being really consistent with a training program for you to start to see change, for you to start to see adaptation in your body. It doesn't mean that you're to your goals. It means that you're actually starting to adapt to what you're doing, to maybe you're not getting so sore with the weights that you're working with anymore, or it's not so difficult for you to complete it. Let's say you're training in strength endurance, then you might not be so out of breath anymore, right? And so that's what you're looking for within those 4 to 6 weeks. So what I would do if I were you is look at your macro cycle. What are my goals for the year? And we do have previous recordings for goal settings, right? And so you can look back at that, but kind of know, like, physically with my strength, what is my goal for the year? What do I want to achieve? That's your step 1. Then step 2 is then kind of break it down into those 3 to 6 months of what's actually like realistic for me to get to in the next 3 to 6 months. And then based on that, I can now plan my next 4 to 6 weeks. If you have never started with strength training before, then taking classes is really helpful, because coaches like myself, Ryan, Pat, Asia, Greg, we really make sure that we guide you guys with proper form, with how heavy you should be working with. Really good way to start. And then you'll want to look into, all right, weight, right? And so building from the bottom of strength endurance, I would train in that for about 6 weeks. And then I can switch my workout routine now into hypertrophy. I would train in that about 4 to 6 weeks, and then I can cycle through that, right? And then maybe in the beginning, I would do a maximal strength test. And then after I cycle through strength endurance, hypertrophy, strength endurance, hypertrophy, I can come back and then do in 6 months another maximal strength test, and then continue switching this up so then I can continue growing. I don't just want to train in one phase for a very long time, because what that does is that it gets me to adapt to a certain point, and then my body doesn't really grow very much. Yeah. And then I plateau. And if I continue doing the exact same thing, I'm not really seeing results anymore. God forbid I get an injury. So I want to cycle through this so I continuously see results. I don't want to load my body really heavy for a long period of time either, because that'll give me the same, just like if I continued with strength endurance. Then in hypertrophy also, I would feel really fatigued, really tired, not really seeing the results after a certain amount of time. So then going back to strength endurance, high repetition, low weight, to then high weight, low repetition. Do you see how this works? And so if I go through that multiple times with obviously breaks in between, I would want to take, let's say I finished 6 weeks of a strength endurance program, I would take minimum 1 week to do just a recovery week. And doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. I'm going for walks. Maybe I focus a little bit more on my cardio. I would sign up for some yoga classes, right, to get that length. So I'm really functional. And then I would hit my hypertrophy program. And then I would cycle through this. Any questions about this?
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yep. So I understand what you're trying to say here with in terms of hitting maximal strength, but I also observed that when we try to do that, your body tends to get really tight, and so your flexibility sort of starts taking a hit, right? So what's the best way to sort of make sure that you're gaining muscle, you're probably getting ripped, but then making sure that you're actually staying flexible?
Very good question. So today is very much specifically to strength training. There will be a section on flexibility also. And guys, to answer your question, because it is a really good one, like I mentioned, I wouldn't do this more than 3 times a week. And so that means on my other 4 days, I am getting a yoga class in. I absolutely stretch after every single day of strength training, right? So like a mini of like what a 1 hour of a strength training session should look like for you always is a warm up, your workout, and then a 5 to 10 minute stretch. Always, that's an hour. And then even bigger than that for the week, I look at, all right, I got my 3 days of strength training. Then my other days is lengthening because I want to be strong and I want to be long. I don't want to be short and tight, right? I don't want my strong muscles to limit my movement. I want my strong muscles to support my movement. And for this, you have to stretch right after your workout and then also in between for the week.
I have a follow-up. So you said you're going to have another session about flexibility in general.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, will that also cover, like, say, stuff like foam rolling and whatnot, or is that going to be a separate one?
Yeah, it will.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
have a quick question. So,
Yes.
in general, what's the approximate time of the plateau point that you said, or how do I know that I reached the plateau?
When you are starting to feel like in your body is really fatigued, then you're not seeing so much of a change anymore. Like in the beginning, if you're just starting, you'll start to feel like, oh, I'm pretty sore. And then within a couple of weeks, you'll start to see that change. And guys, the scale is not a good measure because depending on a lot of different things, the scale isn't going to give you a really accurate picture of what's actually happening in your body with the body composition changing, muscle mass going up, body fat going down. Muscle always weighs more than fat. So the numbers that you see in the scale might actually be the one a little different than what you're expecting. So I advise against the scale, but things on how you feel, what your energy level is like, the way your clothes fit, those are much better measures that you'll see quickly change. And then once you hit a point, and again, I said it's about 4 to 6 weeks of training a certain way, you'll start to notice that maybe you're getting a little too fatigued, or throughout the day, you're not getting that energy boost anymore, or that you're simply just not seeing results anymore. You've gotten to a certain point and now it's not really going anywhere. Plateau.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick question.
Yes.
For all these phases, should I inevitably in calorie surplus?
I'm sorry, one more time.
For all these phases of strength training, should I be in calorie surplus?
In calorie surplus really depends on your goal. Really depends on your goal. If you are doing strength endurance phase and you are not looking to grow muscle, then what you're eating, if you have let's say you have a healthy diet with a healthy calorie intake currently, then I would stay at that same level. If you're in hypertrophy and you're really looking to grow muscle, then what you want to increase is your protein intake, and it'll be very specific to you. This is something you guys will want to talk to a nutritionist about. If you are training in maximal strength, you will start to feel like you're hungry. And so you'll also want to adjust your calorie intake depending on your goals are. Again, talk to a nutritionist about that.
Thanks.
So really just depends on your personal goals. If you're looking to build or if you're looking to lose fat, and what your eating habits are currently.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, you guys. So I do have if you guys have any further questions, I do have to jump. The best email is fitness.center@qualcomm.com. We do have services that are available to you guys. If this is something that you want more questions about or you want to work with a coach, there is a incentive program for you guys. You get 2 complimentary one-on-one consultations with a coach. And if you haven't done it yet, if this is your first time for the year, because you get this yearly, then you'll get $150 into your HSA account. There's also a reimbursement program if you guys are interested in personal training, or let's say you have a membership somewhere and you want to get money back for that. Save all of those receipts for services, not equipment. So we get a lot of questions about, hey, I bought a treadmill, can I get reimbursement for that? It doesn't qualify. So it's health and wellness services. Save all of those receipts. You can submit that into benefits at the end of the year, and then they reimburse you 50% of each ticket. So it's up to $600, meaning you max out at $1,200. If you spend $1,200 for the year on services, you get $600 back. And there is free group classes on site for you guys. It's subsidized by Qualcomm, so it's at absolutely no cost. Coaches like myself, Pat, Ryan, Asia, Greg, and we all make sure that you guys get a ton of adjustments and feedback on how your workout is, just like what to be careful with. Those are all available to you. And then there's also 5 and probably more gyms on site that you guys can use. And I do have the schedule up. This is our group fitness schedule team. It breaks it down by building. So AP, Q, building S, WT, and then we have our Zoom classes. The login for it is at the bottom.
You're not sharing, you're not sharing the document. Are you sharing the document? Yeah.
I am. Let's see.
Yeah, I was able to see it, Z. Look good on my side.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Very good. So again, it's broken down by buildings. It's AP, Q, building S, WT, and Zoom. So these are all the classes that are available to you guys. There's quite a bit. And then guys, also read through the descriptions of the classes. It's, if you pick one up from the gym, we usually have them by the doors or by the computers. You can take one with you, read the descriptions of the classes, because you might find some that you're like, oh, wow, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And so you get to work with a coach in classes. So this is all available to you guys at absolutely no cost. And I know that we would love to have you. We would love to meet you in person and continue these conversations. We do have these presentations coming up for you guys. We have a whole schedule for the year. And so things like strength, flexibility, and many other ones will be covered. If you have questions about anything, please feel free to email us. The best email to reach us is at thefitness.center@qualcomm.com. And through Flex, your Flex portal is where you get to schedule your consultations. I know it can be a little finicky, so if you need assistance with that too, feel free to email us and we'll get you set up. Sounds good?
Yes,
All right,
coach.
Sounds
very good. Thanks, Pushkar. Excellent.
Okay.
Sorry we ran out of time, guys. I know that's a lot of information, and if you have questions, please ask us. Let's set up a personal time where we can really go through and help you like design your whole training schedule and really get personal with you. That's exactly what we're here for. We would love to help. I hope this answered some of your questions, maybe raised a few to get a conversation started. But that's a good place to be. All right, you guys. If you are, my pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. If you're joining me for yoga, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your evening or day. Happy Friday, happy weekend, happy Easter. And I'll see you soon.
Thank
Good job,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thanks, Z. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.